Right now, inside China, there are hotels so extreme, so outrageously engineered that nothing in America even comes close. We're talking about buildings that collectively swallowed more than $10 billion in construction costs. That's roughly what it cost NASA to build the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful observatory ever launched into space. You heard that right. The same money it took to peer into the origins of the universe, China poured into hotel lobbies, rooftops, and facades. And we're counting down all 16. 16. The Castle Hotel Dalian. You're standing on a hilltop in northeastern China, staring at a full-scale replica of a 19th century Bavarian castle. The Castle Hotel Dalian was modeled after Schloss Neuschwanstein turrets, spires, clock tower, and all but built using modern Chinese construction methods. The stonework facade mimics hand-cut masonry through precision-molded precast concrete panels. Every turret and spire had to be engineered for the region's brutal wind loads, turning decorative medieval elements into legitimate structural challenges. And behind every period-appropriate surface, the vaulted ceilings, the arched hallways, the stone-clad walls sit concealed modern systems, HVAC ducts, elevator shafts, fire suppression lines, all running silently inside a building that looks like it was built for a king 400 years ago. But a fake castle is just the opening act. 15. Chimelong Spaceship Hotel. You see it from miles away. The Chimelong Spaceship Hotel in Zhuhai looks like an alien mothership touched down on the coast of southern China and never left. This is the world's largest single-building hotel, over 7,000 rooms packed inside a curved, UFO-shaped structure that stretches over 110 meters high and spans a footprint so massive it required infrastructure-level engineering just to service it. The compound curves of the exterior were achieved using thousands of prefabricated facade panels, each one manufactured off-site and fitted into place like the hull of a ship. The construction team borrowed modular techniques directly from the shipbuilding industry to fit out thousands of rooms simultaneously. The central atrium is one of the largest enclosed interior spaces in any hotel on Earth. The mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems designed to service 7,000 rooms from centralized plants represent an engineering problem closer to running a small city than operating a hotel. The entire complex connects directly to Chimelong Ocean Kingdom, one of the world's largest marine theme parks, through structural walkways integrated into the building's frame. And yet the next hotel did the opposite. Instead of dominating the landscape, it vanished. 14. Banyan Tree Nanjing Garden Expo Resort. You arrive in Nanjing expecting another tower. Instead, you find a resort that's trying to vanish. The Banyan Tree Nanjing Garden Expo Resort was designed around the landscape, not on top of it. Low-rise pavilions were threaded between existing trees and water features, and the architects refused to clear the site. They bent the buildings around what was already growing. Green roofs carry the weight of living soil and vegetation, which meant every roof slab had to be engineered to support loads that a conventional hotel never accounts for. The spa channels natural hot spring water through geothermal systems buried beneath the property. The material palette, raw timber, and local stone created its own structural requirements, trading the predictability of steel and glass for something far more difficult to standardize. The result is a resort that disappears into a garden expo park, where architecture serves nature instead of the other way around. But the next hotel didn't blend in. It plunged 300 feet underground. 13. InterContinental Shanghai Wonderland. This is the hotel that inverted the skyscraper. About 30 miles outside Shanghai, in the Songjiang district, sits an abandoned quarry nearly 300 feet deep, partially flooded with rainwater. Most developers would have filled it in. Shimao Property Group spent $555 million building a hotel inside it. The InterContinental Shanghai Wonderland is 18 stories tall, but only 2 of those stories are above ground. The other 16 plunge down the cliff face into the pit, and the bottom 2 floors are entirely submerged underwater. You're sleeping beneath a lake, staring through reinforced glass at fish swimming past your window. The concept was designed by Martin Jacquemin with Atkins, the same firm behind Dubai's Burj Al Arab, and the build took over a decade because nothing about it followed conventional construction logic. When engineers tried to send concrete down into the quarry through standard chutes, the materials separated and became unusable. The team had to invent entirely new methods, ultimately patenting 39 technologies just to get building materials to the bottom of a pit. A glass waterfall encasing the elevator core cascades from the quarry lip down the full height of the structure, and every single room has a curved balcony framing that waterfall as it crashes into the pool below. Then came a hotel that faced the opposite challenge, building invisible in plain sight. 12. PuXuan Hotel and Spa. Now you're in the heart of Beijing, less than a mile from the Forbidden City. And the challenge here wasn't building big, it was building quiet. The PuXuan Hotel and Spa sits on the upper floors of the Guardian Art Center, designed by German architect Ole Schirren, the same mind behind Beijing's iconic CCTV headquarters. The building is made of 2 stacked volumes, the lower portion formed from gray basalt cuboids perforated with hundreds of circular openings that create a pixelated abstraction of a 14th century Chinese landscape. Painting. The upper volume, where the hotel lives, is a glass brick ring built around a central courtyard, its facade patterned to echo the brickwork of the surrounding hutong houses. 116 rooms frame uninterrupted views of either the Forbidden City or the ancient Dongcheng neighborhood below. The entire design had to respect the sightlines and heritage restrictions of a UNESCO-adjacent zone, meaning the building couldn't soar, couldn't shout, and couldn't clash. So Schirren made it whisper. But the next hotel didn't whisper. It rose out of a lake. 11. Sunrise Kempinski Hotel. You're now an hour north of Beijing, standing on the banks of Yanqi Lake, and the building in front of you looks like the sun is rising out of the water. The Sunrise Kempinski Hotel was designed by Zhang Haiao and a team of 60 international designers, and the entire 318-foot structure was fast-tracked before the 2014 Apex Summit, compressing what should have been a 4-year build into under 3. The facade alone is made up of roughly 10,000 individual glass panels spanning over 190,000 square feet, each one calibrated to reflect its surroundings at a different level. The lake at the base, the Yanshan Mountains in the middle, and the open sky at the top. From the side, the building transforms into a scallop shell, a symbol of fortune in Chinese culture. The main structural system uses concrete-filled tubular columns paired with steel beams, all anchored to a central concrete core that handles both vertical loads and lateral forces. The entrance is shaped like the mouth of a fish, another prosperity symbol, and the third-floor roofline curves into a free-form cloud shape, creating the illusion that the sun is being lifted into the air. And if you think that's extreme, wait until you see a golden sphere sitting on a lake. 10. Hilton Huzhou Nanxun. Same country, same obsession with impossible shapes. The Hilton Huzhou Nanxun sits on the edge of Shenzhuangyang Lake, and its exterior is a massive golden sphere, the largest spherical hotel architecture in the world. The design concept draws on the poetic Chinese imagery of a sunrise in the east cradled by water, and when this thing lights up at night, the reflection on the lake creates the illusion of a complete golden sun floating between sky and surface. But building a spherical hotel is an engineering contradiction. Rooms need flat floors. Hallways need straight lines. Guests need windows that face outward, not inward, along a curve. So every room required custom-shaped floor-to-ceiling windows engineered to follow the arc of the facade. And the interior layouts had to be rethought. From scratch, curved walls, non-standard furniture footprints, round bathtubs positioned to take advantage of the spherical glazing. The interiors weave in the silk and brush heritage of nearby Nanxun ancient town, fusing classical Chinese motifs with a building that looks like it was dropped from orbit. The whole structure is surrounded by water, reinforcing that floating effect, a deliberate engineering choice to blur the line between where the lake ends and the building begins. But just an hour away, another hotel turned the impossible shape into something even bigger. 9. Sheraton Huzhou Hot Spring Resort. You're standing on the southern shore of Taihu Lake, staring at a building that looks like the moon landed on the water. The Sheraton Huzhou Hot Spring Resort is a 27-story ring over 330 feet tall and 380 feet wide, designed by Ma Yansong of Mad Architects to emerge from the lake like a crescent rising at dusk. The ring shape was inspired by the arched bridges in classical Chinese paintings, but actually engineering a ring-shaped building is a structural nightmare. The team solved it with a reinforced concrete core tube system, lightweight, high capacity, and earthquake-resistant, braced at the top by a bridge-like steel structure connecting to a double cone at the summit. The facade is wrapped in layers of white aluminum rings and glass, and at night, an LED skin embedded across the entire exterior transforms the building into a luminous halo reflected on the lake's surface. 321 rooms sit inside the curve, every single one angled to face the water. Now we head back to Macau, where the stakes get much higher. 8. The 13 Hotel. You're looking at a building where every single room costs $7 million to construct, not to book, to build. The 13 Hotel in Macau has only 200 rooms, but the total construction bill hit $1.4 billion, making it, per key, the most expensive hotel ever built on Earth. The man behind it, Chinese billionaire Stephen Hung, didn't want a hotel. He wanted a Baroque palace transplanted from 18th century Versailles onto the Cotai Strip. So he hired architect Peter Marino and told him to spare nothing. Every suite is a split-level villa. The smallest spans 2,000 square feet. The largest stretches to 30,000. Each one has a private elevator lobby, hand-painted ceilings, a marble Roman bath hidden beneath a retractable floor, and a velvet canopied bed with a gilded Baroque headboard carved by European artisans. The structural engineering had to account for rooms that weren't rooms. They were individual luxury residences, stacked vertically, each demanding reinforced floor plates and custom load calculations that a standard hotel frame was never designed to carry. Then there's the fleet. 30 bespoke Rolls-Royce Phantoms, including 2 plated in 24-karat gold, sit in the hotel's private garage. But the story turned dark. Construction delays stretched for years. Budgets spiraled. Loans came due. The building became a monument to what happens when ambition outruns gravity, both structural and financial. But the next building didn't just push ambition. It shattered every rule of structural engineering. 7. Morpheus Hotel. This is the one. The building that broke every rule architects thought they understood about how a skyscraper is supposed to stand. You look up at Morpheus, and your brain doesn't know what to do with it. Designed by the late Zaha Hadid, one of the last major projects she completed before her death, this 40-story tower is the world's first free-form exoskeleton high-rise. That means the skeleton of the building is on the outside. A crisscrossing lattice of steel wraps around the entire structure like a vine made of metal. And it's not decorative, it's what holds the building up. 2,500 unique steelwork connections and 1,200 junctions, each one clad in aluminum, no two pieces identical. The steel components were so complex they had to be prefabricated at a shipbuilding facility in Guangdong, because only workers trained in building massive curved hulls had the skills to weld shapes like that. 3 free-form voids carved through the center of the building, punching holes clean through the tower and creating sky bridges that link the 2 internal towers. The facade required over 24,000 glass panels and 30 different cladding systems. And here's what stops you cold. The entire building sits on the abandoned foundations of a condominium that was never finished. Zaha Hadid didn't get to choose her footprint. She inherited a 74,000 square foot rectangular slab and turned it into a $1.1 billion sculpture that resists typhoon force winds. No internal columns. Not one. But the next hotel wedged its engineering miracle between 2 towers, 400 feet in the air. 6. Studio City Macau. You board on the 23rd floor. That alone should tell you something is wrong with this building. Studio City Macau is a $3.2 billion Hollywood-themed mega resort. And at its center, wedged between 2 Art Deco towers designed to look like something out of Gotham City, sits the Golden Reel, the world's first and only figure-8 Ferris wheel. Designed and engineered by Liechtenstein-based Intamin Amusement Rides, the structure rises 425 feet into the air, built to resemble a giant 35mm film reel. 17 steampunk-themed cabins carry up to 10 passengers each along the inside of that figure-8 track. And the number 8 was no accident in Chinese culture. It's a homophone for wealth, a symbol of prosperity deliberately baked into the architecture. But here's the engineering puzzle that makes this thing possible. The Golden Reel isn't freestanding. It's structurally integrated into both hotel towers, meaning the load from the wheel, the cabins, and the wind forces acting on a 400-foot moving structure all had to be absorbed by the buildings on either side. The facade required more than 30 different external wall systems, unitized curtain walls, structural glass, aluminum cladding, stone, all coordinated across structural movement joints. And the top 5 are where things get truly unreal. 5. Galaxy Macau. You think you've seen ambition, then you arrive at Galaxy Macau and realize everything before it was just a warm-up. This wasn't designed as a hotel, it was designed as a resort city. The first phase alone cost $1.9 billion, and the entire complex now spans well over 1 million square meters across 4 construction phases, with a combined budget approaching $6 billion. But the engineering story that nobody talks about is sitting on the roof, 75,000 square meters above ground level. The Grand Resort Deck holds the world's largest skytop wave pool, 8,000 square meters of water, generating 5-foot swells on top of a building. You're surfing waves on a rooftop. Hundreds of tons of white sand were hauled up to create 2 artificial beaches, each stretching nearly 500 feet. Then there's the 575-meter river ride, weaving across the entire deck, complete with rapids, waterfalls, and geysers. All of it supported by a structural system engineered to carry thousands of tons of water weight at elevation without compromising the casino, retail, and hotel floors below. The facade is wrapped in a diamond-patterned curtain wall embedded with LED panels, and 6 gold-covered cupolas crown the towers. But the next 3 take Macau's obsession to another level entirely. 4. Grand Lisboa. You see it before you see anything else in Macau. The Grand Lisboa rises 856 feet into the sky, shaped like a blooming lotus flower splitting open over the city. Hong Kong architects Dennis Lau and Ing Chun Man didn't just design a tall building, they designed a building that fights geometry at every level. The tower cantilevers outward by more than 65 feet on each side as it rises, widening where most skyscrapers narrow, which meant the engineering team had to solve load-bearing problems that no standard high-rise blueprint could handle. At the base sits an egg-shaped podium dome, a thin shell structure braced by a skeletal framework of intersecting steel clad in 5,600 uniquely sized pieces of glass. Not a single pane is repeated. Both the tower and the podium are wrapped in 24-karat gold-coated glass, with the podium layered in titanium and other metal coatings. And then there's the skin that comes alive at night. Over 59,000 individually controlled LED pixels are embedded between the glass joints of that curved podium, turning the entire dome into a massive 16,000 color video screen. The whole complex cost around 3 billion patakas and took 5 years from groundbreaking to full opening. But even the Lotus Tower bows to what's coming next. 3. Wynn Macau. You walk into Wynn Macau, and the first thing that hits you isn't the lobby. It's the sound. Outside, facing the harbor, sits the Performance Lake, 800,000 gallons of water, rigged with 300 individually controlled nozzles, 1,500 LED lights, and 7 fire jets that erupt on cue. The entire system was engineered to interpret music the way a dancer would, translating every note into a sweep of water or a burst of flame. Steve Wynn spent $1.2 billion building this property, and he buried a significant chunk of that budget under a man-made lake. But the engineering ambition doesn't stop at the waterline. Inside, the resort gleams with that signature Wynn copper glass exterior, a curved, upward-sweeping tower designed to mirror the silhouette of his Las Vegas properties, but tuned for typhoon-grade wind loads that would shred a building on the Strip. The atrium ceilings are rigged with structural frameworks strong enough to suspend massive floral sculptures by Preston Bailey installations. So heavy the ceiling had to be reinforced with custom steel rigging just to keep them airborne. 600 rooms sit above all of it, and every single one was built while the casino below never closed for a single day. We're down to the final 2, and they both belong to the same brand. 2. MGM Cotai. A few miles south, on a strip of land that didn't even exist 30 years ago, you find MGM Cotai, and this is where things start to get ridiculous. The entire building was designed by New York-based Kohn Pedersen Fox to look like a stack of giant Chinese jewelry boxes. 8 massive cantilevered blocks in yellow gold, platinum, and rose gold are shuffled and stacked on top of each other, forming 2 interconnected towers that rise 35 stories over reclaimed land. Over 350 architects, designers, and consultants brought this $3.4 billion property to life. But the real engineering miracle is hidden underneath the jewelry boxes. At the heart of MGM Cotai sits the Spectacle, the world's largest free-span grid-shell glazed roof, certified by Guinness World Records. It stretches over 8,000 square meters, roughly the size of 30 tennis courts of glass hovering above your head, with 0 columns holding it up. The entire roof is self-supporting, held in place by a diagrid shell structure engineered by a rope, where each undulation acts as its own dome, distributing weight along compression rings. If you remove those waves, the whole thing would flatten like a pancake. 60,000 LED fixtures are embedded into the nodes. The only things hanging from that ceiling are the sprinklers. And at number 1, the building that started the entire arms race. 1. MGM Macau. You're standing on the southern tip of the Macau Peninsula, staring up at a 35-story tower that looks like it's moving. The entire facade of MGM Macau ripples. Every single glass panel on the exterior was designed to catch and bend the light off the South China Sea, so the building appears to swell and shift like a wave frozen mid-crash. That was not an accident. That was a $1.25 billion engineering decision. When MGM Resorts broke ground on this property, they did not want another glass rectangle on the waterfront. They wanted the ocean itself pressed into architecture. So, the design team shaped the exterior into 3 undulating tiers of colored glass, gold, champagne, and silver, each section stacked to mimic the surge of a wave rising from the harbor. But here's the part most people walk right past. Inside, sitting beneath a soaring glass ceiling, is the Grande Praça, a 3-story European-style plaza modeled after the colonial Portuguese squares that once defined this city. You're essentially standing inside a recreation of old Lisbon, wrapped in a shell that moves like the Pacific. Nearly 600 rooms sit above you, and not a single guest realizes they're sleeping inside a building that was engineered to breathe with the sea. This is the building that fired the starting pistol. The one that told every developer, every architect, and every billionaire in China that the old rules no longer applied. Every exoskeleton, every underwater suite, every rooftop wave pool, it all traces back here, to this waterfront, to this ripple of gold glass catching the light off the South China Sea.